if you're thinking about how many Akashic record readings do I need, and I'm 60, I often say, think about a reading per every 10 years. So if you're 60, 6 readings to work through some of that lifetime of 60 years of stuff, right? Of trauma, of emotional pain, of disappointment, of challenges. And literally, we can keep peeling and peeling and peeling. So common for healers to say, healing is something like peeling an onion, right? Layer after layer after layer. You know how you peel those hard layers off an onion? Really true for healing. So what I realized over the years as I have been healing my trauma around the loss of my 2 best friends as a teenager, I've realized that I couldn't just do it in 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 session, or even 2 sessions. Sometimes I would be stuck in like energy about feeling, survivor guilt. So often I would feel if good things happened to me in my 20s, I would feel bad about it, right? That's kind of how survivor guilt can work. It's like, I'm the survivor. They should have this experience. They should feel this fun, this joy, this love. They should have all these great things happening. And so that's a layer of healing that needs to be done. It's an aspect of what we suffer from. So often with trauma and loss, we suffer from things like emotional pain, feeling abandoned, survivor's guilt because I'm the one who survived. I even remember thinking that really clearly when my best friend Marcia was in a coma. She went into the hospital. She had sent me a beautiful letter. She lived in Chicago and I lived in San Francisco. I had just moved to San Francisco about a month before. And I got this really sweet letter. And she was in the hospital right on Lake Michigan. And she said, it's so fun to play with these little kids. And out my window, I can see the lake and the sailboats. It was summer. And she was really sending this kind of happy letter, right? No emails back then. We were 13. That was 69, I think. And in that moment, she was kind of enjoying just playing with the little babies, the little children. And then the next day I got a phone call from my best friend Shubi. And she said, Marcia had brain surgery for a tumor and she's in a coma. And I was totally shocked. I mean, an idea like that wasn't even kind of in my mind. I didn't know anyone who had surgery, and especially brain surgery. And then to be in a coma, for her to be possibly dying, all of those kind of emotions and feelings create what we call trauma, emotional trauma. So sometimes people think about trauma as something more physical, whether it's a car accident or us personally being really sick or hurting something, breaking something, being in a terrible car accident, being physically abused. All of that kind of physicality has been a very common way of looking at trauma, brain trauma, right? Hitting our head, having a concussion. All of those are very, very physical, but there's a whole layer of emotional trauma that I think that has been misunderstood or ignored. So my experience was being shocked and having this experience that my friend all the way across the country in Chicago was in a coma and I didn't know if she would live, and there was nothing I could do about it. As a matter of fact, nobody was home in my house. I was 13. I was going to babysit. And so I sat at these kind of strangers' house, babysitting for a sleeping baby, just feeling so distressed. And and those thoughts of why not me? Why her? What can I do? Why, why not me? And that really turns into what we call the survivor's guilt. And so the next day when she did die, I felt that it should have been me. No particular reason. And those are not logical thoughts, right? But there was nothing to do. Back then, it was so expensive to fly somewhere. I wasn't flying home for her funeral. My parents, of course, were, I'm so sorry, honey. It was this summer. I had just moved to California. I didn't really even have any friends. I was very alone, very lonely. My best friend had just died. My other best friend, who I call my soul sister, was all the way in Chicago. Back then, it was 50 cents for a phone call. Can you imagine? So even when I got to call once a week or so, it was like for a minute, maybe two if I was super lucky, because it was so expensive. $1 was a lot of money in the 60s. So I was left to my own, loneliness, my own thoughts, my own feelings, my own survivor's guilt, my own emotional pain, my own trauma, my own belief that I should have been able to do something for her. There was some part of me that said, I should be able to heal her. And often as healers, we feel that about the whole world. And again, we feel that emotional kind of trauma that we can't save the world. For years, every time I worked with a client and I couldn't save them somehow in an hour, I felt terrible. I felt like I did a bad job. So what I have found over the last 50 years of working on my own personal emotional pain and trauma around the death of my two soul sisters is that healing happens in layers, and often layers might be even 10 or 15 or 20 years apart. It doesn't happen day after day after day. And now I've done 6 healings on myself in 1 week, and now I'm healed. Because as humans, we come for the lessons, we come for the soul growth, we really do come for the learning. And it takes us as these, dense beings in bodies a while to process something. So often one healing will take 2-3 days to process through the body. I often will remind my clients after I do a deep healing for an hour with them, take an Epsom salt bath, go to bed early, drink tons of water, and just chill for a few days. Because often the layers of emotions that have been trapped in our body, in our chakra system, in all of these channels that we have, right? We have seen and unseen areas of our body. So we have all of that is holding energy, as well as our whole auric field, our emotional body, our mental body, our physical body, our spiritual body. We're holding energy in all of these spaces that most of us are not even aware of. So as we clear and heal some of this emotional pain and trauma from the experience we've had, it's going to clear energy out of a chakra, out of your aura. It will move out through your energy field, through your auric field. And sometimes you didn't notice it very clearly until it comes out of these hidden spots. And now it's like in your face. And so we may almost feel worse sometimes after a healing. I know many people have said to me that, sometimes after a healing, I'm so tired, I just have to sleep, or I'm crying more than I have in years. And I always say, that's all good. Take care of yourself. Let yourself cry. Experience the emotion. Thank it and release it, and invite it to move out of your field with ease and grace. Again, that's where things like Epsom salt baths are very, very useful. And sleep. very helpful. So when we heal emotional trauma, it is a process. And I really had that experience when I did my TEDx talk a couple of weeks ago. I was in Canada in a hotel, and the group were meeting Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, practicing as a group of the TEDx speakers who were going to be on that stage on Saturday. And we were getting together every day, and we were taking our 30 minutes to do our talk and get feedback. And Tuesday went okay, but I was still kind of reading from my notes. I wasn't remembering it like I wanted to. And then Wednesday was better. And I said, okay, I'm going to practice. I literally Thursday practiced my talk like 10 times before I went down to work with the group and do my talk in front of everybody. And I got down there and I was blank. I had just done this 15-minute talk 10 times that morning, and now nothing. I think I over practiced. I was totally blank. It was crazy. And they, gave me a couple of lines, and I started stumbling through it. And I got to the point where I was talking about my soul sisters' deaths. Both of them died in two very different and, both traumatic ways. Of course, as often all death of children is, I think, extra traumatic. It's different than when someone has lived a long life. So I started talking about Shubi's death, and I started crying, and I couldn't recover. My throat choked up and I couldn't get past it. So I struggled through the rest of the talk, and I went back to my room and I cried, and I thought, okay, time to let it out. Another layer of healing, right, that I've pulled up. And so what I've noticed is, again and again, in so many different ways, over the last 50 years since my friends have died, I have seen these emotions come back up. We bury our emotions so deep, so into such a place in our unconscious, that they often have to really be triggered. So for me, that it was being triggered talking about them publicly after 50 years, sharing my emotional pain and trauma, and speaking out the truth. Part of the truth that I have come to bring back to the world, to humanity, is that we can help to heal our own emotional pain and trauma through our own Akashic records. And I literally got to talk a little bit about the Akashic records on a TEDx stage, which is phenomenal. I'm definitely the first person in the world who has spoken about the Akashic records on a TEDx stage. And because TEDx is really very much about science and not anything that's more spiritual. So I really had to share it as a very, very personal story and talk about what worked for me, what I learned in my experience. And so here in hindsight, what I'm sharing with you is that I learned that healing trauma is a process. And it is a process definitely worth going through. And I believe that we can work very concertedly, maybe once a week over a few months, to start to clear our conscious trauma. I would say most of us have so many kinds of traumas, right? It can come from your parents' divorce. We may feel abandoned or lost or alone when our parents divorce. It can come from our own divorce. And again, feeling of loneliness, abandonment. There's so many kind of other emotions that get connected into that. And that's how come we can start to work on layers and layers and layers of emotions, because it's not one thing. Many of us were bullied as children. Many of us have had different kinds of abuse, whether it was emotional, physical, mental, all of these kinds of trauma. Things like bankruptcy or being really poor can be traumatic to us. Being in a war, being in the service, in the army, even consciously going out into combat is traumatic, right? That's where this whole PTSD really has come forward finally in the world about how these physical and emotional traumas continue to affect us in so many different ways. And so part of my calling over these next years is to help people to become more consciously aware of their trauma and of these traumas that we have really been oblivious of. So many of our childhood traumas, such as the loss of a friend, a parent's divorce, moving away, being bullied in school, lots of different kinds of bullying and physical aspects, being told that we're not pretty or smart or good enough, right? All that low self-esteem, all of the energy around self-esteem really connects into this trauma aspect. And so working on finding the emotions, healing the emotions, understanding it through your Akashic record, because we can see that bigger picture. What did I, as a soul, plan to learn from this trauma? How can I actually learn, grow, share, use this experience to help other people? If that's part of your soul's path, it's not part of everybody's, it's obviously part of mine, but not everyone. And yet for many of us, we choose to share our trauma, whether personally one-on-one with other people, or some people become therapists because they really go through that process of healing their trauma and choosing to do that as their work in the world. Or sometimes, you know, working with other women who have experienced abuse and working for nonprofits where they can help people in different parts of the world. So we have that choice to take this emotional pain, this traumatic experience, and turn it around and let it also be a gift in the world that we can give to other people. And so what I've learned over these many years, and really what I've learned over that week of practicing, pulling up those emotions, getting raw, getting real, diving into that memory of how I felt when Marcia died. And then again, Shubi died in a just traumatic car accident. How I felt, how I processed it, how it got really kind of just ignored and suppressed, and how important it is and how much it's affected me in a variety of areas of my life. Because what we do know is that trauma can really cause physical health challenges, and it can cause relationship challenges because we often don't feel worthy of being loved. And it can cause substance abuse and addiction patterns, very common for people with real severe trauma. And that even played into my life in a big way after Shubi died. I said, I'm not doing anything spiritual anymore. I'm going to go party. And that was kind of my way of burying the pain, burying the memories, burying my survivor's guilt by just going out and pretending, trying something to have a good time by partying. So all these different aspects of trauma affect our lives. It can actually affect how much money you make, because it can affect your worthiness. It can affect your ability to be seen. Again, because it's often survivor guilt, shame, other kinds of guilt, fear of being seen, fear of people knowing who we really are, judging us for what may have happened in our lives. So what I've realized after working with thousands and thousands of clients who have had this emotional pain and trauma in their lives that has blocked them from accessing greater abundance, greater love, greater health, that our stuffed or buried emotions affect our life in almost every way. So I look forward to sharing more tools around healing as emotional trauma. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.
That was really fucking good.
Good.
That was great.
Good. Okay. And it's kind of funny because I'm like going back into my TEDx and like, what did I say? What are the emotions?
That was great. That's like a great pre or post. Do you know when the TED is being released?
It usually takes about a month, right? And so you would think maybe the 4th to the 4th, but we've got Christmas and we've got New Year. So I'm hoping mid-January it'll be out.
Okay. Probably won't. Like end of
So
January most. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll just, I mean, I'll just get notified when it's on their YouTube channel.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's a really good one. We can post pre-TED, post-TED, whatever, depending on the posting schedule to do. I would say let's post it pre-TED, especially on your YouTube and your LinkedIn to just raise awareness around, hey, I'm gonna have a TED talk coming out.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. That was really good. Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
No, that felt good. That felt, yeah. I had to mute myself and yell at my husband and my daughter. They were folding plastic bags. I don't know if you could hear it, but I'm just listening to this crinkling. I'm like, could you shut up, please?
Your husband folds the plastic bags. Like, goddamn, that's dedication. How do you even do that?
You know, those plastic bags you get at the grocery store, kind of.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I don't know. He's very meticulous. He folds it in quarters and then he folds it in little triangles and tucks the thing in. It's really.
Can he come over? Fix my house.
He folds them so well. The kids are like, stop folding them so well. They're hard to open when I'm at the store. So just fold them in half. Just get over it.
And he's like, listen, we're not animals. Okay. You use your opposable thumbs. You figure it out.
Seriously, I know it's hysterical. Oh my God.
Oh man, that's funny. No, I didn't hear anything because when you muted, I thought you muted by accident, and I was like, no shit. But I didn't hear anything too notable in the background.
Okay,
but
good.
Yeah. So it's like I think most Zoom have noise cancellation.
Well, and it was funny the other day. I was talking to Connor and he was like, yeah, that has 3 settings, the little speaker. So you can set it for like, so that you get more. So we set it for the most narrow kind of sound. So that's more like this instead of like everything. You ever look at little speakers? They have buttons. See how there's 3 different kind of settings on the side?
I don't know if my microphone is one of those. Yeah. I don't know. That's cool.
Yeah, because, well, you don't have to worry about it because you don't have a bunch of people making noise in the background, but I always do.
Don't. Yeah. No, that works good. The
Good.
only other, because I mean, we probably won't meet again until after Christmas. So the only other thing I can think of is it would be cool, like what you were mentioning before, to do a video about the dark versus the light and what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And just sort of unpacking that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we could do maybe just a super short, like 3 minute. That could be almost like, you do the
Yeah.
one and then watch more.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to just do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have been noticing so much heavy energy out in the world. Of course, all you have to do is watch the news for 1 minute and you could be totally freaked out about what's going on in the world. So, of course, I never watch the news. I don't think I've watched the news for almost 20 years because it is not good for my psyche. I really don't believe it's good for anyone's psyche. But right now, well, it's really been 2021 and it's coming to a crescendo right now. November, a lot of planetary alignments, a lot of heavy energy. It's very much about clearing, right? Clearing the old paradigms, helping us to release all of that old unconscious beliefs. A lot of it can be negative beliefs. And to me, a lot of it is the kind of darker energies that have been on the planet forever. So what we know is, of course, there's every shade of gray in the world, in every emotion, in every kind of person. We have light and dark. And of course, the light workers are saying, let's raise the vibration and move into creating a new earth. And as we, the light workers, are saying, let's create the new earth, we need to dismantle all of the old paradigms and all that energy that no longer serves us, and all of the male power over women, and just all of the really negative beliefs that are out in the world and have been on our planet for thousands of years. There is the energy of dark. There is a vibration. I don't believe in a devil, but I do know that there is dark energy that is out for a different outcome than we, the light workers, are seeking. And I don't have a better way of saying it, but it would be like saying you have dark forces, you have dark armies, you have dark people, right? And the truth is they are in it only for themselves. When we're humans, right? They can be very, very powerful people who make way too much money and keep it all for themselves. There are groups, there are energetic groups, there are darker forces in the world that are not embodied. And I know that they occasionally will come along and affect us, the light workers, because we're doing a lot of work in the world to raise the vibrations, to clear old dark energies, to help us to create a new earth. And so to me, one of the very important aspects is to be the sovereign of your body and energy field, to be the queen or the king, whatever you are, male, female, whatever you are, the sovereign of your body and your auric field. That means I am the ruler of this little space, this body I call mine. I'm owner. My soul owns this space. No one else, no dark, no anybody gets to come in here. And I get to align that way to my higher self, to my soul guidance, to my higher truth, to my Akashic records. And it makes it a million times easier to access your higher self or on up into your Akashic records if you are the sovereign of your physical body and your energy field and your auric field. And so one of my favorite ways to do that is to fill myself with my highest golden Akashic energy. Fill your whole body with golden liquid light from your Akashic records. And fill your whole auric field with golden liquid light from your soul and your Akashic records. And when we make ourselves really solidly gold, that's our highest soul vibration. Gold is a kind of beautiful energy, universal energy of the highest vibration we can each hold. When we can do that, we are claiming and owning sovereignty of this space, this body, this energy field, this auric field. And we are moving everything else out. So it's a simple and powerful tool that I suggest my students and everyone who's watching do twice a day. I do it in the morning. I do it before I go to bed. I want to make myself solidly gold because that means that I'm owning my field and I'm creating a boundary from the inside out. I'm not building a wall. I am being solidly me. So there's no space for other people to move in. They can't get in your head. They can't get in your energy field. They can't get in your chakra system if you are solidly you, solidly you. So become the sovereign of your body and energy field so that you can align with ease and grace to your higher self and your Akashic field and your life's path.